You can find me at aaronhilltv, V at aaronhilltv, V at aaronhilltv, V at aaronhilltv.tv on IG.
Hey, Miss Emma. Yes, I can hear you. How are you?
How you doing, Aaron?
I'm pretty good, and you?
Wonderful.
That's good.
But Karen is now here, and Karen, rather than me trying to speak in your behalf, would you just kind of synopsize what our discussion was earlier today?
Okay, now there was a reason why I called you and had the discussion.
Oh, okay.
I had it while it was in my brain.
Oh, okay.
But basically, and you can fill in the gaps. But I was talking about the whole, just the Facebook group as well as the event and activities leading to the event. And so I think our embarking down this road will be good because it will serve as a model of the ministry. So I was telling Emma, I already have in my mind, once spiritual arts gets the kinks out, I will start looking at whether or not wants to have a Facebook group as well. But the other piece I was saying is that in terms of us, and this was from the, I think either the minutes or either the other email that Emma sent. And so I was recommending that we don't deviate from what we know is expected of us relative to doing an event, so that we complete a proposal that's a proposal for the event that we're having on the 7th that also describes the pre-activities that are leading up to the event. So the whole reason for us going on this particular journey that we're going on is because we were planning for an event. And part of us planning for the event is looking at how we can use a Facebook group to develop a following, as it were. And from that following, that serve as a mechanism for us to solicit participation in the event. But the things that we need to do around the spiritual intent, all of the things that we've done for all of our other events, we need to do. And I recommended that we do not come out the gate with a mock-up Facebook group, because that takes a whole bunch of people out of the conversation. And I think our intent may be misconstrued, and it won't be tied to the actual reason that perpetuated us down the road that we're going down.
Let me ask you a quick question to clarify. When you say takes a lot of people out of the discussion, can you specify be somewhat general about the people you were talking about?
I'm talking more, now this is going to be an interesting way of putting it. I'm talking more about my perception based on lots of conversations I've had relative to guiding the board through this strategic planning. So we have Virginia Wake, who is the champion for the communication portion of the strategic plan. And I know she has done quite a bit of work that now she's putting some energy behind, because she did some stuff ahead, like in the year or two before we did the strategic plan. So the establishment of the Facebook group falls within the communications arena, because Facebook serves as a communications mechanism to grow our audience beyond. And that's part of what is in the objectives for communications. It has a little piece in the technology group only because Facebook is a technology platform, but the bulk of Facebook and what we intend to do will be in the realm of communications. So the other thing that I had said to Emma that I suggested we look at too is we will need to identify, because we agreed that this would be a public group versus a private group, if I'm not mistaken. And so we will need at least an administrator and a moderator, because we definitely want to have someone who will agree to moderate the group, just in case we have that off to the left, person who's not quite on point. And that part of and I think we talked about this also at the last meeting, but acceptable conduct, in terms of what we expect in terms of people's conduct and behavior in the group, some rules. And I think you may have pointed something out, Aaron, or shown us what you have, so I think you've got a template to use in that area. Yeah. So that was basically what I was talking with Emma, just in case I wasn't able to attend the meeting today.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I would say that thank you for sharing, Miss Karen. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, I understand where you're coming from. So if I, understand you correctly, like you said, the this particular project, because of the type of project that it is, it falls under communication and, like you say, a touch of technologies. So technically, with that being said, there are more people that are actually involved in not only those kind of decisions, but just like the day in and day out of that aspect of, the church and the ministry. And then, and I do understand what you're saying on the side of moderator and administrator. So the good thing about that is that, yes, you would look at a person or a couple people that could basically be an administrator from the perspective of being able to accept new people into the group. That really, out of this whole equation, is really the only one specific job, if you will, where it's just a task that has to be done periodically. And so the way that works is that when someone joins or when someone sends a request to be in the group, then that request would show up in the account of whoever the account is set up under. So with the church. And then you can basically take people who have Facebook profiles and you can make them administrators so that they receive the notification. So for instance, and I wish I could show you all right now, but I don't have.
Can we do this, because we don't have a whole lot of time, and I think when we get to the point where we have some solid people who take on these roles, we can talk about how that happens. Mm-hmm. My main thing is to say we haven't identified anybody yet. We have got to identify people in this ministry who are going to, and the reason I separated them out is because, yes, you can have an administrator who's going to set up that group within the OGOT space, but from our standpoint, in terms of kind of spreading the wealth, so to speak, we also would need a moderator or two whose sole purpose is just to go in and read what people are saying and and making sure that people are adhering to whatever it is that we set up as, the rules of conduct, the acceptable use of participation in the group. Because
I have a question though. How do you distinguish between a moderator and an administrator?
Well, a moderator only moderates, an administrator can set up, approve, and moderate. So it's just like a backup person.
Administrator.
So you could just have an administrator. But I think if we're looking at how we look at the things that we need to do to begin to engage and attract, I really do think that it should not be just a one person thing. I think we should have at least 2 individuals.
So one thing I can tell you, even in response to what you're saying, is you can definitely, in theory, so I'll speak literally and figuratively. So you can definitely, figuratively have, a person or a couple of people whose job is to specifically look through the group for certain things. Now, here's the good part about this. One thing about moderating, if I just talk about moderating as opposed to a moderator, one good thing about moderating a group like this is that there's a real easy and simple way to kind of have this done, even in addition to, like I said, maybe having someone who's just a part of, like, well, I'll talk about that in a second. One easy thing about this is that imagine, let's go back to the party concept for a second, right? So imagine in a party, you're trying to make sure that everybody in the party is being compliant. Well, one of the good things about being able to take care of that is that everybody else that's in the party, since their interest is to have a good party, then you really actually have a number of moderators, so to speak, from the perspective of everybody participating and being able to, being as though everybody's participating and everybody's active, everybody's actually seeing everything that's going on. So that's one of the things that helps with this. You don't, for instance, if I was chosen as a moderator to go through the group, right, in the way that you're mentioning, well, all I have to do is just be a regular participant, and then I'm automatically moderating because I'm engaging anyway. I'm reading anyway. I'm responding. I'm a part of the conversation. So that's the one good thing about this. You can have your bouncer, so to speak, at the door, like a regular party, where their job is just to, like, think about and bring up conversations around behaviors and just the different things that's going on. But the best part about this whole group idea is that since the only way you don't have moderators is if you don't have the people that are a part of it participating. And so the good part is all you really need is people to participate, and then everybody continues to be able to moderate together. So it becomes like a group effort, and it doesn't necessarily,
Yes, we are a UFBL member church with a specific set of theologies that we espouse and that we put out there. So this is not this group, while it's an open group and we will welcome everybody, et cetera, there are certain areas where we may need to lovingly steer a conversation because of the specific. We're not just New Thought. We are UFBL New Thought. We're not Unity. We're UFBL. We're not Science of Mind. We're UFBL. And so that's, for me, why it's important for us to have, now whether it ends up being one person is, that's how it could be, but we're embarking on a new adventure. And I just think it's very important for us in embarking on a new adventure. We don't say, okay, Theodosia said she's gonna do it. She's game, she's gonna do it. And then she goes off and she gets it set up and she's doing it. And the rest of us are like, okay, she got it. And you know, we haven't even shown up to the party. So that's the reason I'm focusing on this, because this is not my piece.
Can I ask you a question?
A piece. This is OGOT UFVL, and so, and it's a collaborative effort. So I'm just trying to make a distinction between how you might manage a group as a sole proprietor versus how we might manage a group as an agent of an incorporated organization that has a broader framework and that holds us as a ministry accountable for espousing a UFB. So I don't want to make it too heavy of a conversation, because it's really not, but I just want us to keep that in focus, so that we don't have something that starts, you know, going in a different direction. We don't have the, you know, the resources to kind of steer, you know, or to at least engage. It's not that people can't have different thoughts or whatever, but that at least we, you know, engage. So that's my only point in terms of what will be best, what I think would be best for us, and that's to at least have a team, you know, to at least have who make a commitment to seeding and watering this, especially in the next 3 or 4 months leading up, you know, to the event.
Understood. Understood.
So given that, do we all have the same understanding? Because what I'm hearing is that we have to be mindful of who we are as an entity, because we are representing not just OGOT, but UFBL, and that self-moderation may not be as available to us as other groups.
Right.
Okay, so it's we
right.
have to have someone,
because we want people external. You know, that's the whole point for us, is to just grow this community and to have it, you know, go outside of the quote unquote OGOT congregation, you know, but to have other people come in.
If I could say this, that definitely, I would say, in my mindset of how I would form this for an entity such as this ministry or an organization, I would say that's one of the goals, but I wouldn't say that would be what I would advise the initial goal to be. Since you have a ministry, and a ministry has a number of different things going on, you have the ability to culture experiences, which first allows you to feed those that are within that particular group. And what that does is it automatically encourages, even more engagement, because as opposed to an event kind of thing, you actually just have, it's the same thing like meeting here on Monday. You have a communal kind of thing. That culture is a particular kind of environment where from there, other like-minded people, you want to be able to join the party, so to speak, and join the community. But I say that because in that mindset is one of the things that once this gets to the point where everybody's able to actually start participating within it, the mindset you want to be the mindset of sharing amongst each other, not so much thinking about, okay, now we have a group. Now, how can we get other people to come? You know, because what happens is, from just the type of sharing that you would do, you would automatically culture an environment where all you have to do then is just say, hey, here's where the party is and that kind of thing. And basically at that point, you're already in, you know, within the party having fun and engaging. And when other people come in, it's already a kind of like a routine kind of deal. And so I say that from a mindset perspective, because most people think that a lot of these technological tools, like the number one thing is, how do we market? How do we make money? How do we get other people? And they miss out on really actually how you do it, which is not so much thinking in that mode. It's more so just thinking in the mode of a community and functioning amongst yourselves as a community, which naturally it grows the plants that then allow other people to go like, wow, those are some amazing plants over there, and some amazing tillers of the soil, so to speak. So yeah, that's my 2 cents as far as that. And like I said, that's just because, you know, when it comes to these kind of environments online, the real key to make it successful, as far as the goal that you're mentioning, Ms. Karen, is to actually get used to participating in an environment and sharing in a particular way where you culture an environment. And then that automatically makes it attractive to others. And then you're not thinking, how can we market? How can we get this that way? Because what winds up happening in that mode is people don't create enough value where they are, because they're thinking more so about how to just get other people in and then try to get the wheels turning and that kind of thing. But you want to create the value and be in the mindset of how to do that. And then it's easy to welcome in other people at that point to something that's really, really nice and beautiful, and everybody sharing. So that's just, I just want to throw that in there.
Right. No, that I agree with you. I'm just saying we have to have members of this ministry make a commitment to creating the value. So that's something each of us has to think about and see where we are and what kind of commitment we can make. The
only thing I have to throw in there, though, and this is the last thing I'll say on this tip. I definitely understand why you say that, like, cause I understand like formulas where that's exactly. I'm gonna tell you though, the issue here that it may cause, even though it would equal the same thing, and this is why I say this, and we were talking about this, I think about maybe 2 meetings ago, when you just naturally care about something, you actually participate in it more if you don't feel a sense of obligation. That brings about a certain kind of anxiety that naturally, even if you commit to it, it just doesn't feel natural. But if you take something that we all do that's not a commitment, it's actually just a part of our interest and enjoyment, then that winds up actually equaling more commitment, because people feel like a sense of just, we're here to engage because this is of our interest, which allows it to flow better than feeling like the anxiety of like, okay, I gotta commit. And I'm not saying this missing your point of what commitment does as far as consistency and quantity and quality. I'm just saying that. I'm not even talking about consistency and quantity. I'm talking about first out the gate. You said commitment to bringing the value.
I'm talking about interested enough to somebody that says, hey, I got something, I'm gonna post this. I'll be the first to post. That's what I'm talking about, because somebody has to get off the bench.
How do you all feel? How do you all feel about this? How do you all feel if I was to ask everyone in this circle right now, and if we were to change the topic of conversation, and I was to say, what does spiritual arts mean to you, or what are your experiences or your memories? Then more than likely what would happen would be everybody would just get excited and probably start even cutting each other off as we just started sharing in that way. So anyway, I'm just, and I'm not trying to be like, clashing. It's just that I understand exactly like how you're thinking about it, and I feel like I do, and I feel like I understand it. It's just that you want to, in my opinion, you want to go about it with the same type of organization and structure, but
No, I don't want organization. I don't want organization and structure.
Okay.
But we do need, I am not going to raise my hand. Okay, let me just put it this way. When you say, what is it that I am passionate, I love spiritual arts because I have grown tremendously through my participation in this ministry in ways that I cannot even describe. I have grown tremendously. If you ask me that question, I am not going to go on Facebook and answer it. If I do, it will be because of my commitment to this group in particular, okay, and my support of this group, just using your example. So I'm not talking about a structure. I'm just talking about, I'm not going to be the one to raise my hand to do that. I might raise my hand to create the group, to do that just to get it going because that's something I'm comfortable doing. But in terms of, you have a group, you build a house, okay? You plant a cornfield. Okay, people aren't necessarily just gonna come because they see the house or come just because they see the cornfield. But if you put a welcome sign out, then people will. So I'm just saying we need the person to put the welcome sign out is basically what I'm saying. So I think you and I are in agreement. I'm not talking about this restrictive, corporate.
Well, I'm not thinking corporate. I understand what you're saying.
Table thing, but
right.
Somebody's got to put the welcome mat out.
Here's the welcome mat. Here's the welcome mat. Here's the welcome mat. We have decided that it was enough of our interest as far as just what we care about to be on a platform called Zoom that's completely different than any other kind of thing. We don't use it regularly because we have the interest. I do agree with what you're saying. I just don't think it has to feel like such a big kind of thing. Let me tell you why I say that. If right now we agreed instead of doing this on Monday nights, we're just going to do it there on another platform. And that platform was just called Facebook. And that's where we were going to talk. It, like you said, and you said it really well. You said it perfectly to me. You basically said, if it weren't for the fact of me thinking about this in a way of trying to put something together, I wouldn't even be a part of it. I wouldn't show up. I wouldn't have anything to say because that's just not what I'd be interested in. And that makes sense to me. I think that while you feel that way, I think that honestly, even in this group, I think that most everybody else here probably feels differently. Where if they were just hanging out, they would, and not necessarily just because they have like spiritual arts. We have a job to do for spiritual arts. Like we just care about spiritual arts. And again, I could be wrong. I'm speaking prematurely because I haven't asked everybody else here. But I do understand what you're saying. Even like you were saying before, I don't even use Facebook at all in that way. So I get this, but I'm not one of those type of people, and that makes sense to me because I work with that kind of thing all the time. Where either it's like that with me, where I'm not the type of person that will participate, but I can understand it, or I am that type of person. I'm just saying that I think that there's a lot of people that's more so under the mindset of like, we just care about the arts. So if we just happen to hang out on Zoom and talk about it, we're there. We're there on Monday nights. If we're hanging out on Tuesday, instead of Zoom on Monday nights, we're hanging out. We just go to Facebook instead. We're just hanging out there because we just care about the arts. So yeah, I get what you're saying. I do believe that, yes, it is good that, first of all, a team is important. Moderator is important. Administrators like that. I think that's really, really important. I'm trying to get across that the whole idea of creating value and creating content is not, it's not that same kind of thing where it has to be that. if anybody cares about arts, then it doesn't have to feel like a commitment to I'm gonna go. You just like, I love this song, so and we're talking about it here. It's like church. It's just like church. It's just like, you know, you could just stay at home and just do it, but you're just deciding to come because you just want to hang out with some other people that have the like-minded interests. Now, it could be an obligation for you to be there. And for some people, I give myself that, even for the past 8 years or so. If it wasn't for I made it an obligation in my life, but you know, me being a musician in the church, and I love community, but at the same time, I'm not really a church going person. I don't go to church like just to go to church. So I fall under that same category with you, where it's like, yeah, I wouldn't. But then there's everybody here. There's everybody else that's in the environment that's like, yes, on Sundays, we need no obligation. We want to hang out here because it's of our interest. And so I guess that's the only thing that I'm offering here. If it feels like a commitment, it's actually going to bring it. Even I'm saying this even with me being here and me being one of, you know, a person helping with consulting, but not necessarily a person who, you know, the idea is like, even me, if it feels some kind of way, like, and that's actually going to equal less commitment. It's going to equal more confusion because people are going to feel like a job, as opposed to just like, we do have a moderator, we do have an administrator. The rest is just, this is just where we're hanging out. This is what we want to do anyway. It's just that now we have an environment to do it where all our efforts now equal more, because instead of just us sharing amongst ourselves and having fun, we are sharing amongst each other, and it just happened to be in this place. Yeah, we got to get a Facebook account, but like, you know, it's like Zoom. We downloaded Zoom and we got on it because we cared. We just cared. So anyway, that's just my, you know, that's just my 2 cents. I want actually everybody else to join in and kind of share, you know. I don't want to take up all the time.
Okay, but let's hear from someone else. Any volunteers before I start calling on names and acting like a teacher?
Go ahead and act like a teacher.
Your hubby got something.
Yeah, okay, Michael.
All right, there's a couple of things, and I want y'all to hear me out. I like everything I'm hearing. Here's where my concern is. Now, can you all hear me?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, this venture could be very interesting. It could be a great place to hang, but it also is still part of this particular church. Mm-hmm. And every kind of activity where there's some kind of outreach like this, they're going to want to have a more of a hand in how it goes. I mean, you can't teach a class at OGOT without having a certain amount of training and a certain amount of credentialing. I'm concerned that do we get to a point where they start wanting to put a finger in that pot as well, because of the fact we're reaching out to people, they want to have control about how that is done. You know, that's my first concern. The community is always going to be a part of this church, even if it's all of us who are in the church hanging out together. We can do it on Zoom because we're not under the rubric of OGOT. Once we do that officially, and once we do that as in terms of events we're doing at the church, that's where I'm concerned. And I'm not even sure if I'm putting this properly. I'm just, Theodosia, you know, we went through. One of the issues we were always fighting was to get a hold of the brand. And Karen, you've been a part of those conversations too, about not going so far out that we get away from what the mission of the church is, but also to try to strike a balance between not being slave to the doctrine. Right. And that's a real balance. I don't know how we get that here. Once we go public like we're talking about, those are things we really have to think about. And I don't know how we wrap our heads around that. I'm struggling with this right now.
I can understand that. I think, at the
end of the day, we're not really independent from OGOT. We are a part of it. And if we're out there on something as a public forum as Facebook, we are representing them. And then if that is the case, and we get to a certain point, do they start trying to qualify and credentialize those folks who are doing this to the point where someone like me couldn't do it because I don't have the credentialing, or someone else who doesn't have that, you know, who hasn't taken all the courses or whatever the training is, could not be that person. I think. Am I asking the right questions here?
And
Go ahead, Ms. Karen.
Yeah, I hear you, and I don't think that it would get to be that deep of a thing because it's a group, it's not a workshop, it's not a class, it's a group of like-minded people, and everybody may not be, you know, new thought or any flavor of new thought, but because we are UFBL, if someone came in with, and I can't come up with an example because I just don't, but let's say if someone came into the group, and this is a way out example, and started talking about the devil, okay? Well, we have a specific theology around that. And so I don't see us as going and, well, you know, that's not our theology. You know, I don't see that. No. I see us engaging in, you know, conversations or talking about, let's say somebody took a piece of artwork and in it, you know, they had it and they had something that was labeled the devil. And they said, well, what do you think about this? Then we wouldn't go, oh, no, we don't talk about the devil. No, we don't do. We would just look and say, oh, that looks like that represents darkness. You know, so I think there are ways, but I was just saying that because we are UFBL, you know, we and all of us have minimally had basic truth 1 and 2. So I think that equips us to be able to moderate. And we then, of course, what do? We make sure that we ever so often ask the reverends, have you been on our group yet? Well, you know, in a while, why don't you come in, just, you know, kind of, you know, come in and look at the good stuff, you know, folk are doing. So I don't think we would have it that way. And the reason I don't think we would have it that way is because of the pre-planning we would do ahead of time in terms of our proposal that talks about the purpose of the group, just like we'll talk about the spiritual underpinning of the event on November 7th. We would also talk about, you know, how this becomes a growth extension for us as a spiritual arts ministry. You know, this is a way for us to grow and expand as a ministry, but also inviting other people to go down this journey. So I hear what you're saying, and I think those are the kinds of things we have to think about, but I don't think, you know, I don't think this would be, if we made it kind of that tight or kind of, then it would defeat the purpose. That, you know, the purpose is to bring people together and to look, and then for us to, in a way, you know, if there's something that's, you know, a little to the left or a little to the right, we know how to metaphysical stuff.
Yeah, you would.
So we can metaphysical the conversation.
Anything, I know.
And that's the thing.
We can metaphysical anything.
And the thing is, you know, even to piggyback off of that, you know, you would do just like how you would in any other kind of environment and conversation. Like, you know, yes, there are places where there are boundaries with certain things and like certain behaviors, but like, to be honest, the one thing you don't want to do with this is really overcomplicate the process or overcomplicate the whole idea in lieu of trying to just, you know, make sure you do it right and make sure you check all the boxes. Because, yeah, it's like you were saying, Miss Karen, if somebody shared something and they had a different belief. Like, I mean, it's really loose. So meaning like you don't necessarily want this group where everybody's looking at it and saying, okay, it's every tenant of the UFBL and how we, like, that's not how you engage as just people with normal lives. Like, yes, there are boundaries, and yes, like, you might not be talking, well, and that's the interesting thing, because the beautiful part about these communities is that one of the best parts is that people are living regular life, so they're able to share in just like the commonalities of the day, and just commune with each other and convene, and confide in each other. And so you might talk about what happened with something in the community with music, or something that's on the news about COVID or something like that. But the overall general conversation is around, arts and music, and just how that relates to life, and and like you said, this particular spiritual approach. But yeah, it's really just like a relaxed environment that still has a particular gearing towards a certain thing. So there's a topic, there's a flow to it. But yeah, you don't have to think so much about meticulous beliefs and those kind of things, because that's not a natural community, even in any other community. Like, you share a commonality, but you're not really nitpicky about everything everybody says and how you're going to respond. Like, you're family, you just relate, your family. I mean, I'm an atheist, and if I'm in OGOT, how is everybody going to relate to me? They're just going to relate to me like a regular person. We're not like, and if we discuss something with regard to like a particular belief, like, it's like how you discuss it with family. You just, like, real family that you love. Like, you just, so anyway, I just throw that in there just to say that way. Like, you don't want to overcomplicate the thought process with this, while at the same time, yes, it makes sense to think about certain things, but you don't want to overcomplicate it, because then you'll miss the whole point of what it is. And then it becomes like this kind of rigorous, weird kind of thing, as opposed to just a community where what you share is life, and life as it relates to, certain subjects and that kind of thing. So
I hear you. My concern is, again, with structure is, if we're going to do this on OGOT site, if we're going to do that as a part of that organization, just making sure that we check off all the proper boxes, and make certain that we've created for ourselves a space where we can have that kind of freedom, in someone else's yard, basically. Because we're not doing this as independent entities.
Right.
We are still tethered to the OGOT community, and we have to be very mindful of that. And structurally, we need to make sure we can address that, because where we put this, if there were a site, where we put it is very important. We can't create a separate one and then do events at OGOT unless that relationship changes. So I just want to make sure that we're aware of what we make one choice. What does that mean? If we make another choice, where does that take us?
Right.
And I really want us to be able to focus and really think about what each choice does in terms of creating different options for us.
I hear you. I think that your goal is being accomplished right now as we speak, because the whole idea, like even what Ms. Karen was saying in the beginning, is that the whole idea, and even Ms. Emma, how you laid it out, the whole idea is to come up with an idea of this thing and then be able to take it back to the church and say, here's the idea. You're going to have some people that understand it because they're in touch with it. You're going to have some people that's like, wow, what is this? I've never heard of this before, but this sounds exciting. And you're going to have some people that go like, wait a minute, wait, we got to slow this down because this looks too. But you're doing the work here as far as making sure you check the boxes by doing what you're doing. And I think from here is just to take the model back and say, here's the idea. And then from there, then it starts to be filtered to see how it matches up. And then as it goes forward. I do understand your concern, and I actually think it's being accomplished literally by having a conversation, getting to know the idea of how this works, starting to think about, you know, how to flow in. And just really all that we're talking about, you know.
Then it seems to me that we're on two tracks, two parallel tracks. One is about the actual program that we're putting together for November, and two is about working through some of the structural and, for lack of a better word, political stuff that we have to work with as well, to make sure that we're able to do all of this. So there really are two goals here. One is to get the event done in November. The other is creating a structure that will outlive the event and something we may be able to can use in the future, you know, beyond November. But they're very, very specific things.
Definitely.
They're mostly related, but there are times when the two deviate from one another.
Well,
and I actually see creating the Facebook group as somewhat of an incubator for the event. You know, there's not like a lot of time between now and November, but I think there's enough time for us to put out, you know, some stuff and have conversations generated, and, you know, to get a conversation going in the Facebook group, you know, to get people attracted to it organically, and, you know, and that kind of thing. And then to have that be an extension, for lack of a better word, of the bigger event, which becomes a group conversation potentially in and of itself. So
yeah, I definitely agree. And in fact, on that tip, I want to actually say this to take it all the way back to the very top of how all this came about, even how I even had this idea even to share with you all and that kind of thing. So, you know, one of the biggest things I do, you know, not just for myself solely as a sole proprietor, but also for businesses and other companies, is like, we're used to the old world where if you want to make something successful, like an event or like multiple events or anything that you have going on, we think about going behind the scenes, creating that project, and then from there, unleashing it one day and putting, you know, hopefully putting some marketing materials behind it to bring some awareness. And then when it releases, then we're looking for that effort of all the time that we put into that to meet the effort, to meet the, you know, the satisfaction of the people, and then for that to create something where you get a financial success or other kind of benefit. And then you move from there to do the next project again. The tough part about that formula is that it's extremely hard, no matter how much time or effort you put into something, to make it turn over and equal the amount that you put into it. So when I heard about this project, that's when I was like, oh yeah, here's yet another place where building a community allows for not just this project and not just an incubator for this project. It literally becomes the home to where everything that comes out of the ministry, it becomes less work to make it successful, because you're not just depending on, okay, we got to notify these people after we put together this big thing and hopefully put together a 60-second thing that'll knock their socks off. And then after that, try to push it. Like, you don't have to do that anymore. The kind of community that I created around Fruition Music, you know, it means that now anything, like all I have to do is just say, I'm thinking about something. And then there's a large number of people that's just like, okay, what is it? And it's just because of the fact that there's a community. But this is the same thing that you have with the church. This is what you understand even from the church that you're involved in, that the community is created. So when the church has events, which are Sunday services and other events, it's not really hard to market because there's just a constant family. You know, there's a constant sharing. There's a constant community, people that care about each other around this particular topic. So that's the beauty of this. You know, this is one of those things where this is the soil that becomes so rich just from caring about a subject like how you do, and just not waiting for this big blip here, this big blip there, that it winds up making all the projects that you do successful. Yeah, because you just have a regular conversation going. You have a regular community that's, you know, that just cares about a particular thing. So, yeah.
If I could say something, it sounds like you're saying that instead of this being a top-down model, it's more of a grassroots up.
Yes.
And because of the common interests of the people who are involved, it does have a more organic feel to it. We are there as an organization to support and enable the discussion. We provide the platform.
You participate,
then,
yes. You provide the platform, and then you do what you already been doing, which is continue to care about the arts and talk about it and share and have fun.
So now here's my question at a particular level, which everything I agree with what Michael has said, you know, because we are in the construct of an organization. And so we are going to be acting as agents of that organization, no matter how we slice it, whether it's organic or not. So one of the reasons we do what we do is to facilitate increase for the organization, and to facilitate financial increase for the organization. So you have a band, you know, so how do you, with the groups that you have, how does that feed or facilitate, or whatever term you want to use, financial increase for you?
So it's
or is that even, and I'm not saying it as a main priority, but as an outgrowth. I mean,
right.
or does that even come into play?
It does. You know, throwing a consistent party is going to get participants all the time because they want to go to parties. So the way that it translates is, like I was even saying in the last example, instead of me just showing up from time to time saying, "Hey, I created something great for you. Would you like to buy it?" It's you're a part of the journey of that and of other things relating to that, and I get to care about you as a person. I get to share with you around these topics or around this particular kind of thing. And what that does is that builds your relationship with me because of the fact that I care about something that you care about, and I'm the one that wants to continue to talk about it and share. That brings people value, that builds trust and builds relationships. And then what happens is people care about whatever that is, whether it's a solo entity, whether it's a cause, or whether it's an organization. People begin to, you know, they care about that and they connect with that. And then people just want to invest in that continuing on in whatever fashion that is, because they've been receiving value all along as well. So it's the culturing of something that's valuable to people because it's valuable to me. And because I know it's valuable to me, I know it's valuable to other people like me. So I'm throwing a party saying, "Hey, I want to have a fun party." And other people are like, "Wow, this is great that you continue to just create an environment where this is what we're dealing with and talking about, and you care about us." So I have people now that have bought, I have people that follow me already for my music that now are investing in other aspects of my career because I'm bringing them value in the same way. Like I'm continuing to bring value from different aspects. So
if you say, "Hey, I'm dropping another song, you know, you can pick it up here," then they go to CD Baby or wherever, and they purchase that song.
Yes, because they don't care about how the song sounds, anything. They appreciate the fact that I'm a person that's constantly giving. And that automatically initiates the reciprocity. One of my favorite entrepreneurs, his name is Gary Vee. He wrote a book that's called Jab, 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 Right Hook. And the whole idea was give, 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 and then he'll even throw a couple more gives, and then the right hook is ask. So yes, so the way to create
which falls in line with our theology, actually.
It does, but I'll tell you,
it's about giving. We are focused on knowing the power of giving and receiving, but in order to receive, you have to give.
You do. And I'm glad you said it that way, because one of the biggest things that I think will be learned through this, honestly, is that in order to receive, you give, as opposed to receiving by asking. The giving creates the environment to where you don't even have to ask. So for instance, like, and I'm teaching like a lot of the musicians and artists, as well as restaurant owners and people who sell shoes and churches and everything, like the same kind of thing. I'll give you an example. In my particular field, say of music, if that's one of my, several like products or services, all I have to do is just take people on the journey. All I actually have to do is to take people on the journey of the music being made, and then I don't even have to try to sell the music. I don't even have to ask them to buy the music. They are on the journey. We're talking about the music, and then in between the music, we're also talking about COVID-19 and like, wow, how are you doing? And it's a constant journey. And then we're back on the music and we're continuing on. By the time I release the music, it's because at that point, people are just like, wow, this is amazing. When is it going to be available? When is it ready? When is this? Because when people feel like they're a part of something as far as a journey, that's the thing that creates the connection with them in order for them to invest, whether it's a fundraiser, whether it's a product, whether it's a service. And like I said, even from the top of this project, that's how I got involved. Like, wow, let me share this idea, because yes, that's how it turns around. And the reason why I stress it so much is because it is literally the opposite of the environment and the industries that we came from. Because the environment and the industries that we came from, you did not have the ability to be able to just show up regularly and keep a conversation going. There was no way you could have a community unless you created a physical community, or unless you recorded DVDs and tried to sell them to people. But like, there was no way to say, I just care about a subject and I want to talk and share about it. And there are other people too who will find value from that. We only had one shot. That one shot was you record a DVD of poetry and people create, and you try to get a good marketing commercial, and then you keep your fingers crossed, you pray, you do whatever you do, and then you let it go forward. You try to. But now we have the ability to feed those kind of efforts by just nurturing people around something that we all just value, and just being the one to say, we value it enough to start a party over here around it and about it. And so what I'm helping a lot of people do now is switch mindsets, because we didn't come from the world where this was possible. So that means all of our thinking is in the way that things have been done up to this point, which makes sense. That's when I realized, like, oh, I have something to offer, because even the youngest of my generation are actually still thinking in that other way when we're sitting right in the midst of a different kind of tool. But I learned that when I did what I'm showing you all here, and I started with I started with 5 people that I was servicing around music and that we cared about it. And so I was servicing them and getting close in a particular way. And then I created a community. And then now, hundreds of thousands of people later, everybody's participating in a community, to the point where I'm not even as active as I used to be, because the community that I first created was around gospel music and that kind of thing. And I don't even do gospel music like that anymore. So I'm not even like in the community. I'm on the outside participating in, saying, hey, how's everybody doing? But the ball is like flying now. And all I did was structure it around something that people cared about. And so it's led to, if I have anything that is quote unquote for sale, or something that people can actually invest in my journey, even if it's down to donations or some kind of fundraising or a product or a service, all I literally have to do is just halfway say the word, because I've given so much that people are just excited that I've created this journey that they cared about too. And then the reciprocity happens in a major way.
And
I went, yes.
For
Go
that
ahead.
specific example that you're talking about relative to the gospel music and stuff like that, over what span of time did that grow to the point that you were basically just saying, hey, y'all?
Right. So my first 4 years went from $0 to $10,000 to $29,000 to $45,000 to $83,000 to $130,000.
Wow.
And right. And so over that 5-year period, at the same time, because I had these ideas that I'm sharing with you all, and I was like, wow, it's a great opportunity. See, I was excited about the fact that I no longer had to wait to just put together a project after several months and then come out with it and try. I was excited about it because I was like, wait a minute. When I was 17, if you gave me the opportunity in the midst of what my group was doing, was trying to put together a project, if you gave me the opportunity to immediately show up, and not even show up with the project and say, here's a project, but literally show up and say, I love music, and here's why I love music, because it just does this to me. And I was listening to this song today. Like, if I had that ability, I was like, oh my goodness, we would have went from 0 to the moon, because what we were hoping for was to try to figure out a way to get an audience to care about what we cared about. And we had to do a lot to do that. We had to get to a township. We had to make a project. We had to get it pressed up. We had to do all these things. But now we're in a place where all you have to do is just care about an interest and be interested in talking about it, and then talk about it instead of amongst yourselves in a medium where other people who have that same interest too can participate, and then you bring the value. So 10, 29, 45, 83, 130,000, and beyond the money, a global community at this point. My first YouTube channel now has 70,000 subscribers, and that's low actually. That's but amongst that 70,000 subscribers though, because of the fact that I'm doing what I told you all, where I had one specific idea around a thing, it means that in that 70,000, just on that channel, I mean, it's way more than that. It means that it's a much higher percentage of people that actually participate and actually bring value to the group and to the community and to the environment as well as the reciprocity of saying, hey, how can we, I had somebody earlier today that sent me an email, and I get this all the time, where people are just like, I am so grateful for what you have created. And they're talking about something I did now 10 years ago. I'm so grateful for what you've created that I just found out about, that I want to, where is your info so I can just donate to this journey and just send money, because you've brought so much value over the years around this topic of discussion. And that's happening day in, day out. If I did a screenshot, in fact, while I'm talking, and I want to be mindful of time too, but while we're talking, I'm going to actually share my screen, and I'm going to show you all my email. And in that email, I'm going to show you how literally, while we've been on here, I haven't even seen anything. But if you look at these emails here, and everywhere where you see notification of payment received, merchant email receipt, merchant email receipt, merchant email receipt, notification payment received from, these are just happening while we speak. So the reciprocity, and I just cleared out 100 of these before we started. So the reciprocity of this works automatically if, like I said, you think about what it means when you care about a community and how you actually interact with that. Yes, you have, you definitely have your team. You have a few people that's like responsible for particular thing, for the good balance and structure of it. But then you make the overall understanding of it that it's not an obligatory thing. you're sharing this way. And then like you all are saying, then you also make sure, you check off the boxes and that kind of thing. But yes, that's how the financial aspect of it has been working out for me.
So that's been something you have built up over a period of time, which of course, in order to build up something over a period of time, you have to start somewhere.
You have to start
and so
somewhere,
that's,
right.
I think, where we are. You have to start somewhere.
Right.
But how would you see, because you have what I'm going to call very tangible things. I don't want to say products, but I want to say very tangible things, because as you take someone on a journey with you, you have this idea that's a tangible thing that if somebody wants to, they can go and they can, like download a clip and maybe do something with it and say, hey, I love that little riff and I put this little trill on it.
Right.
What you think? And you encourage them and you go, hey, and that's great. Anybody, so you've got this kind of thing or things that then blossom into a greater thing or a product that you just say, hey, thank you, if you're interested, you can listen to this, you can pick it up. And so now people go, so that kind of journey that you have, we don't have a thing or a product.
Right.
We have a way of being,
yes,
that we want to invite people on a journey through, which I think we're all kind of right there. I mean, we have helped each other on a journey. I mean, we are like this, tight-knit family you wouldn't believe, through spiritual arts through the last 4 or 5 years or whatever, that you wouldn't believe. So how do we take that though and translate that, because we want to educate, provide experience, but we also want to be a conduit or a platform for financial increase. And again, you have to water and feed, and you got to put it in an oven at 350 degrees and let it bake.
Here's how you make money. I just shortened it all up for you. Here's how you make money.
Well, that's.
And you've got 7 minutes to do it, because it's 8:23. We have to stop at 8.
Well, the best part is I don't need 7 minutes. All I need is 7 seconds. The way that you make money is by bringing value on top of value on top of value, and not worrying about making money at all. And I'm not saying that to be just like of course there are things you can do. You're gonna at some point you'll have one thing that you all will have is that OGOT has a particular system as far as the way to donate funds, the way to be able to feed into the church as a whole, no matter what ministry you're actually caring about when you do that. So that kind of donation deal, as well as like you're going to have events that, you're basically going to continue to live. That's why when we first started, the very first thing I said, we started talking about or brought to the discussion was macro overarching goals as far as the ministry, period, like just in desire, period, across the board and in the future. And then also the project goals, because for pretty much having those in mind means that you bring value, you're going to have different ways that people are able to give, whether it's a cafe and they're donating, or a fundraiser, or a product, or like, you know. And so that's how you have financial increase, by focusing on bringing value to a subject and an interest that you care about. And what's going to show how much you actually care about that is actually how much you think about bringing value versus how can we turn this into money. And then you're going to get all the money in the world. So we'll talk about it some more. Like but I wanted to give that short and straight answer first, because that's what it is. When I was telling the story earlier, and I'll keep it really quick because I want to tell you all two things. I was telling the story earlier to a friend of mine when he asked me how much my tracks was. And I said, my tracks are 99 cents. And he was like, wow. And I said, yeah, let me tell you the quick story behind that. I started it in 2007. By 2008, I had my own site, and my tracks were on there for $25 a track, which was still low given the amount of time and effort that's put into it. But I had to make a happy medium because most of the people weren't professional artists. They were just people that like to sing. iTunes and Amazon and some of the other platforms came out, and I looked at my formula and I said, you know what? I could either have a really nice store out in the middle of nowhere where nobody knows where it is and keep everything at the price, more so a price that makes sense and that kind of thing, or I could jump into this place, the iTunes, the Amazon, these other environments that's like a shopping mall, where even though nobody knows me, I'm in the midst of an environment where people are talking. It's a community. People are traveling by. My prices will drop from $25 to $1, but that won't matter because I'm serving such a deep need and I care about this so much that that's automatically going to turn around because of the giving nature. So these dollars will add up, and then hence the figures that I just told you, from 0 to to 130,000. That's something that was done in this mindset, and that's the reason why I'm sharing it this way. The second thing I want to tell you all is that after I built that, you all actually witnessed me build a community overnight right in your presence, because after I built the Fruition Music community and I learned the things that I'm telling you all about, in 2012 when I came to OGOT and I had the idea to start New Thought Jazz, I knew how to build a community. So literally in 90 days, I built up the 100,000, more audience that I built in, I'm sorry, I'm rephrasing that. I mean, I'm stating that wrong. As far as the percentage, the equivalent of what I built over on the Fruition side, I built actually in 3 months on the New Thought Jazz side, because I did what I'm telling you all now. New Thought Jazz became a concept. I knew that there were other people out there that had a similar interest in the realm of music and in the realm of the thought system like you all are talking about now. I started a community around it, and in 3 weeks, we were known across the United States, and other people were joining in. In 3 months, it was across the world, and it became a whole thing. And to be honest, that was until 2014 when I changed directions as far as the group and took some things in the other direction. But you all watched me build a community overnight, and it went from OGOT across the entire UFBL and then beyond as far as the other various forms of New Thought in 90 days because of what I'm telling you all right now. So I just want to share that before we wrapped up.
Well, you have certainly given us a lot to think about. I think we need, I'll speak for myself. I need to be able to take a few minutes and just kind of reflect on what you said, to see if I can't put it in some sort of perspective, and then to see how that fits into what I understand about OGOT and where I think spiritual arts fits into that conversation worldwide. Getting back to the point that we are one, so no matter where on the planet we go, we are connected to people. I think we need to be able to, we can live that demonstration. We can be that demonstration of what that looks like. I don't know how to phrase that at this moment. And actually at 8:29, I'm really on a time crunch. I know that Karen, you are as well. And so is there a comment that anyone would like to make right now? Because I think I would like for us to if at all possible, maybe do another night this week for another half an hour or so. If that's possible, we can talk about that. If there's someone who says just wait till next Monday, we can do that. But if you think that you might be able to squeeze out a few more minutes one evening this week, I'd like for us to do that and just have that kind of conversation and toss some ideas around. I feel like there's a lot going on in everybody's mind, because it's been a very enlightening and also a very deep conversation. So it's deep and wide, and I know I need time to reflect,
Right.
to really absorb what I've been hearing, because we really need to come to a decision as to what we actually are going to do. But I've been listening to this discussion, and things are still swirling around for me. So,
Okay.
and we do what we always do, which is to look at whatever it is we do, we look at it from every possible angle. And this has been a demonstration of what that looks like on steroids, I think, this time. So.
Yeah. So to help me to make more content like this, please see the info in the description or comments. Thanks so much for watching. And if we're not already connected on all my other homes, the Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, etc., where you can find me at Aaron Hill TV, V at Aaron Hill TV, V at Aaron Hill TV, V at Aaron Hill TV, .TV on IG.